Welcome back to another episode of the Ministry of Truth. I am your only host on this show. It's going to be a little bit of a interesting conversation we're going to have today. We're going to go through a few news segments that I thought, and maybe some humor, that I thought could get us along since, our president is a real man. That sounded bad. And then we got a few more things. However, obviously we got to start off with the music, right? And guess what? I need to start off with some good old America. Or should I pick a different song? You know what? Fuck it.
Lately, USA is getting scarier. Half of the Americans I see all hate America. They hate the cops doing their best to take care of us and kneel for the flag and salt the soldiers that we're burying. I'm tired of the pissing and complaining. Why you living in America if all you do is hate it? You think it's brave to take a stand against the nation? Real bravery is dying for the right so you can say it. Dear America, what happened to Americans? Apparently no one's aware or cares that it's embarrassing. It's arrogance. Our greatest enemy was always slavery and terrorists, and now it's people in the country trying to burn the heritage. I can't help it, I just seem to see the world different. It ain't Republicans or liberals, it's mental illness. The internet is only interested in left opinions. Cancel culture's got more power lately than the First Amendment. If you don't like it, leave. We will not defund police. We don't want no riots in our neighborhoods or in the streets. We respect freedom of speech. We protect what we believe. We don't want nobody dead, so please do not tread on me. In America, if we remain free. In America, got soldiers dying overseas. So America, you say what we believe. My America, I won't ever take a knee. Our freedom is the reason you can disrespect our flag. If my stars and stripes offend you, then I'll help you back your bags. America, does anybody know what the hell happened to the Patriots? Lately, this nation is so ashamed and hating itself. Did everyone forget that people died to pay for this? Ungratefulness, United States gave everything to you just to help. I just want to celebrate Thanksgiving with my family. I don't need your help to understand it was a tragedy. Can I just be thankful for my country eating happily without you trying to guilt me for the genocide and casualties? I can't help it, I just seem to see the world different. It ain't black or white, it's conflict designed by the system. I don't need your pronouns, all I see is men and women. Kids are taking pills for fun while people can't afford prescriptions. If you don't like it, go. Hate it, then don't call it home. We don't need no violence, got no time for all you radicals. Screw your status quo, we're not animals. I won't kneel for the anthem, cause the flag is what I'm standing for. In America, if freedom ain't free. In America, got soldiers dying overseas. So America, you say what we...
All right, about enough of that. We're going to get into our first story. This is shortly after the Ukraine
I want to put something up.
president disrespect. No, this is yesterday. Okay, my bad. We're going to talk to our DNI secretary about Ukraine and what they think should be happening.
Recent Quinnipiac poll just days ago. This was before the incident in the Oval Office, if that's what we want to call it. And it asked the American people, do you think the U.S. should trust Russian President Vladimir Putin? 81% of them said no. You know, it's hard to get 81% of Americans to agree on anything, but they're united on that. So why does this administration trust Putin?
I think President Trump goes in with the cynical eye as he does. I imagine with any deal that he's made, it's not about blind trust at all. It's about looking at the factors that are on the table, negotiating with all interested parties. And then for President Trump, ultimately, he's going to look out for what's in the best interest of the American people, our ability to live in a peaceful and prosperous way in our country, and uphold the values of freedom that we hold dear. So I think, again, President Trump has a very realist view of the picture and what's at stake, which is why he's so committed to working to bring about an end to this war, and frankly, why he's proven that as this war has been waged over the last 3 years, he's the only one that has the ability to do that.
So our next guest coming up, Democratic Congressman, Senator Chris Van Hollen, says that he is very worried about what he saw on Friday, what it communicates. He says the people who are celebrating are Russia and Putin, Xi and China.
Well, a senator is basically a congressman, right? Congress has two different factions, two different houses. So yeah. She was right.
Russia, people who don't have America's best interests at heart. And we do have, over the weekend, a number of reactions out of Russia. You've got Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov saying President Trump's the one using common sense and that we like the way he's acting. You've got the Kremlin spokesperson, Dmitry Peskov, saying what the U.S. is doing is changing the game, and it largely coincides with our vision.
Well,
what do you make of Russia celebrating and saying what the U.S. is doing lines up with their vision?
Tartaria.
They're going to say what their position is. What we should pay attention to here in the United States of America is the American people, so many people across the country celebrating the strong leadership that President Trump and Vice President Vance demonstrated in the Oval Office, something we have not seen over the last 4 years of the Biden administration, where we finally have a president who's going to stand up strongly and fiercely and unwaveringly for the cause of peace and freedom for the American people. I know that that is who President Trump has on his heart and on his mind as he is working towards bringing about a negotiated end to this war. I think those who are criticizing his efforts in this way are showing that they are not committed to peace. And in the case of many of those European countries, that they're not committed to the cause and values of freedom. Even though they speak of this, we heard very clearly during Vice President Vance's speech in Munich.
They don't care.
Different examples of how these European partners...
They need war, right? They need it so bad that the UK Prime Minister is like, yeah, we'll help Russia in their fight. We'll send troops over there. However, we need America. They play a huge role in our democracy, our safety. So you still need America, even though Zelensky ran over there and be like, I think that big bad Trump slapped me in my penis.
And longtime allies in many cases are actually implementing policies that undermine democracy, that shows that they don't actually believe in the voices of the people being heard, and implementing anti-freedom policies. We're seeing this in the United Kingdom. We're seeing this in Germany. We saw it with the tossing out of the elections in Romania. So there's something fundamentally deeper here that shows a huge difference in divergence between the values that President Trump and Vice President Vance are fighting for, the values that are enshrined in our Constitution, the interests of the American people in our peace and freedom and national security, versus those of many of these European countries who are coming to Zelensky's side as he walked out of the White House, saying basically that they are going to support him in continuing this war and that they don't stand with us around.
Think about what she just said there. They're going to stick around for the war. None of these countries want a peaceful end to this war. It's a never-ending war because Russia already has North Korea and possibly China wanting to chime in. You think your little country and European countries and NATO would help? Huh? You really think so? And remember, Ukraine, you see Nazis. They're still their secret police. They're kind of trained by CIA as Nazis.
Around these fundamental values of freedom.
Well, and they also, though, think that they're in more alignment, and they should be, with the U.S. when it comes to those freedoms and things you talk about. Certainly, those are not things that you would say that Russia or Putin celebrates or bestows on his own people.
That's correct. I would not make that claim, and it's clear that that's not the case, nor does President Trump. But that's not really what we're talking about here. We're talking about many of these European countries and Zelensky himself, who claim to be standing and fighting for the cause of freedom and democracy, when we actually look at what's happening in reality in these countries, as well as with Zelensky's government in Ukraine, is the exact opposite. You have the canceling of elections in Ukraine. You have political parties being silenced or even criminalized or thrown in prison. You have the freedom of religion, churches being shut down.
Wait, is she talking about Putin or Zelensky? Because, sounds like Putin, but it's not Putin. It's Zelensky.
You have political opposition being silenced. You have total government control of the media. We could go down a whole laundry list of issues that are against the values of democracy and freedom. So it really begs the question, as Vice President Vance said again in Munich, it's clear that they're standing against Putin. Obviously, that's clear. But what are they actually really fighting for? And are they aligned with the values that they claim to hold in agreement with us, the values that President Trump and Vice President Vance are standing for? And those are the values of freedom, of peace, and true security.
All right, so the way that you describe Ukraine and the way that most Americans and most of the world understands Russia, are you saying it's essentially choosing between the lesser of two evils?
No.
What I'm focused on is what President Trump is focused on, which is peace, seeing the world through a very clear picture and making sure that the president is having honest and good faith negotiations with both of these countries to bring about an end to this war. That is what it's about.
I like it. I like it. Peace. Peaceful end of this war. However, hear me out. Canada also pledged to President Vladimir Zelensky that he'll help support them financially. Can't remember if he said militarily. So that's UK and Canada. Canada thinks their shit don't stink. You know, they have more resources than, you know, anybody else in the world. Okay, yeah, go ahead. You're run by China anyway, like for real run by China. What is the UK going to do? Well, we could send her in our SAS to fight the entire Russian army. You know, I was thinking about that. The Russian reserve forces are larger than our entire military combined. And that's including our reservists and National Guard. Let that sink in. Do you think Ukraine has a chance? I mean, I'm not sticking on Putin's side, but I'm sticking on the side of real democracy as opposed to the real definition of democracy. Whatever. All right, next we got on tap. Oh, okay. So I actually found there was a behind the scenes where there was a hot mic, right, between Donald and Zelensky. And I'm bringing it to you now. Ready? And it's brought to you by Mr. Regan. He found the clip, and I'm glad he shared it with everyone. Are you ready? Let's do it.
That was yours. We thought that baggie belonged to Hunter. You know, I think the Secret Service probably still has it somewhere.
I have been stealing the money.
I'm sorry, what's that now?
I must to speak honestly. I steal many of USA dollars to Ukraine. Millions. Some dollars for some oligarchs also. Some for American bureaucrats also.
Well, we know that, but why are you telling me this?
Because, Mr. Trump, if you end war, we cannot steal any more money. We must continue war.
No, the war must end. Your people are dying, Zelensky. They're dying.
But I want to steal more money. What do you want? Fellatio, I can do it.
No, I don't want fellatio. No.
Are you sure?
What?
I did for Biden.
Okay, that is what we call oversharing. Look, there's nothing you have that I want. You're not going to convince me to keep this war going. You don't have the cards.
I not play cards.
No, I know you're not literally playing cards. It's a metaphor. It's like I'm playing 4D chess and you're playing checkers.
No, I not play checkers. There is no checkerboard, you see.
Okay, let's try this. I am in the driver's seat, okay?
Right.
Do you understand that expression?
No, but we are not in car.
No, you're right. You're right. We're not in a car. That's true.
Listen, Mr. Trump, I am actor/comedian.
Yes.
I crave attention. Since start of war, I get worshipped by presidents. I'm worshipped by Hollywood. If war ends, no more attention, no more worship. With all due respect, Mr. Trump, this war must last forever.
I tell you what, if you agree to end this war, we will do a remake of Friends. And you can play Ukrainian Chandler Bing. How does that sound?
Oh, I love the Friends. This is favorite show of me. I am such a Monica.
Fantastic. Okay, so let's sign the thing, and then I'll go show you the room where Bill Clinton and Monica Lewinsky did it.
Oh, yes, this is funny because I just say I'm such a Monica. Maybe we will go in a room and you can be Bill Clinton and I will be Monica. Yes?
You know what? Forget the room. Let's just sign the document. Does anyone have a pen? Phil? Where's Phil? I need a pen. Somebody give me a damn pen.
Mr. Reagan.
Yeah.
Listen to this here.
That was behind the scenes, all right. You know, I don't know how he got a hold of it, but he did. Now we're going to switch topics to something that's going to actually get to a arrest in Florida, because it similarly has, you know, a combination of effects that I put in together. Let me make sure I put it in the right order. No, I didn't. Yeah. Okay. So this is going to be about, you know, and this is CNN, CBS reporting on this, that did you know during the month of February 2025, the United States had a record low in apprehensions. Now, how do you see that? There's a record low as in they're not coming over, or there's a record low because they're not getting caught? No one knows.
The number of illegal crossings at the U.S.-Mexico border has reached an historic low. Government data obtained by CBS News shows apprehensions made by Border Patrol reached a 25-year low. During the first full month of President Trump's second term. Joining us now in Studio 55 is CBS News immigration and politics reporter Camilo Montoya Galvez. What's up, brother? Good to see you.
How's it going?
This dude's name's Camilla.
So break down these numbers. What do you see?
So right now we know that Border Patrol recorded 9,000 migrant.
Is CBS now skinheads? That's it. All I'm seeing in this report, skinheads.
Apprehensions along the U.S.-Mexico border in February in 28 days. That is a stunning, extraordinary reduction in illegal immigration. Why? To put it in perspective, back during the Biden administration, on some days, Border Patrol recorded more than 8,000 apprehensions in 24 hours. So it is a dramatic turnaround at the U.S.-Mexico border. And of course, the Trump administration is saying that its sweeping government-wide crackdown on illegal immigration is fueling this dramatic drop in illegal crossings. They are, of course, now expelling migrants without allowing them to request asylum. They have deployed the military to help with border enforcement, and they're also using military flights to deploy.
Did he say the military, as in 3,000 troops to the southern border with strikers? Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. And not to mention, Mexico gave up like over 24, maybe 36 cartel members to the United States. Could we be witnessing magic here? Tariffs are a hell of a thing. Hell of a thing.
Deport and detain migrants and to send them back to...
Speaking of tariffs, Taiwan kind of folded to the tariffs. And now we have a $100 million chip deal with Taiwan. $100 million invested. We get chips from Taiwan. And not like the chips that you eat, right? It's like the chips that are in your phone, or in the filling they put in your mouth so they can hear what's going on.
Their home countries. And so this is really a dramatic turnaround. And the last time Border Patrol averaged about 8,000 monthly apprehensions, according to the data that we have, was in 1968.
Wow,
and so
the numbers
it
are
is
drastic.
It is a drastic change, yes.
So the question is, and how do we look at the actual data? Is it the number of crossings that are down or the number of reported crossings?
So Border Patrol apprehensions denote the number of times that Border Patrol processes an individual migrant. So these are apprehensions of people who actually get caught and processed by Border Patrol. They do not include the so-called gotaways, people who essentially sneak into the country and evade law enforcement, and obviously are not counted in the tallies because they're not caught by Border Patrol. So the numbers could be slightly higher, but Border Patrol sources tell us that the number of gotaways have also gone down. We don't have those figures yet because Border Patrol agents are now back on the field and not processing as many migrants as they were back during the Biden administration.
Fascinating. All right, Camilla, always great to have you in studio, man. Thank you very much.
Yeah, Camilla.
Listen to this. Here we go again. Another ice.
All right. Those that you don't know, there was an ICE raid or coming ICE raid that, I don't know, some reporter decided to leak to these migrants. Hey, they're coming. And this is what you don't do. You don't open your door. You don't show them ID. And there's some other stupid bullshit. Are they going to be prosecuted?
ICE operation has been leaked, this time in Northern Virginia, where agents plan to raid today and tomorrow. After details were posted by a reporter, a migrant activist group then told illegal migrants what to do and what not to do when they meet ICE agents. That includes do not open the door without a warrant signed by a judge. Do not sign anything. Do not show ID from a foreign country. Jonathan Fahey is a former DHS Deputy Assistant Secretary and former Director of ICE, and he joins me now. Jonathan, good morning to you. So DHS Secretary Kristi Noem said that in the past, leakers have already been found and they have been fired. But this keeps on happening. Who's doing the tipping off, and what can the government do to prevent this from happening in the future?
Fire sale.
Well, I don't know who's doing the tipping off. What's interesting, though, a lot of times these big operations not only involve federal agents, but sometimes they involve state and local officials because you have to involve them, letting them know people are going to be brought into the jail and things like that. But what can be done? These could be, people could be charged with obstruction of justice, which is a federal felony, carries up to 10 years in prison.
Oh.
And it's really justified here because these agents that are going out there on behalf of us to keep us safer are being put in danger because of these leakers trying to advance their political agenda.
Does that mean we can put AOC in jail and she also will be a convicted felon? And she keeps her job. She does her term in prison. They let her out to vote and do her speech, work release. And then at night she comes back to jail. Or better yet, since she is a lawmaker, we'll waive the jail time and we'll put a monitor on her. All right, we'll only have this monitor on for say 6 months. So to make sure she's only going to and from, the Capitol where she needs to vote. And and then we'll totally forget about it. Right? No, I think that would be great.
Agenda. So this is extraordinarily serious. Nobody has been, hurt or killed at this point because we know, but somebody really bad may have already gotten away and can harm somebody else. So I hope they're taking this as seriously as possible.
Remember, this story's leading to something.
I'm sure the Department of Justice is investigating these with the appropriate resources, with the intention of holding people accountable.
What about the people online, Jonathan? The people who are hearing from these sources that they have within the government and then posting this information on Twitter? Can they be prosecuted?
Well, I think that's an interesting question. If you are basically you're promoting information for the sole intent to obstruct or impede an investigation, I think that's something they will look into. I think that's maybe a more aggressive approach, but it's certainly the people leaking it will be in the crosshairs and then subsequent from there. But they should be put on notice that these are putting people in danger, and if you are doing something with the intention to obstruct or impede an investigation, that's obstruction of justice under the law, and you could be prosecuted for it.
Okay, well, it's going to be an interesting week because on Capitol Hill, the House Oversight Committee is going to have a hearing, and the mayors of the sanctuary cities, New York City, Chicago, Denver, Boston, are going to testify. I mean, it's going to be a public dressing down, but how important, how significant do you think this hearing could be, and will anything
that should be
change
fun.
as a result of this?
This is extremely important for one reason. The public needs to know what these sanctuary cities actually are doing, and the whole purpose of them is not to keep the kids in a preschool from being deported. It's to get people in jail to remain in their communities, which is astonishing to me. And it's the fact that it's persisted so long is also even worse. So what they've been doing is preventing ICE from being able to take people from local jails and remove them from the country because they want to encourage more illegal aliens in their community and keep existing illegal aliens in their community. But the one thing that's also really interesting, these mayors are walking a fine line. They've been doing this a long time, but it certainly doesn't mean it's legal. There's an offense under the federal law called harboring, which means if you're doing anything to shield, conceal, or harbor an illegal alien in this country or in the community, or encourage somebody to reside here illegally, that's a federal offense called harboring. And these policies, as well as the actions of these mayors and other officials, are certainly walking a very close line on that. So it'll be interesting how they answer it. Are they going to admit the purpose of our policy is to keep illegal aliens in this community? I think that.
Arizona or California? Because Arizona, oh, never mind. Arizona's not all that weird because of the fucking governor.
That's a problem. So they're going to try to walk this line. I think that you'll see some false testimony, which will say they're doing it to not scare the immigrant community and things like that. But what we know is they're doing it precisely to keep illegal alien criminals in the community, because non-sanctuary cities are effectively. So this will be quite interesting. It'll be a dressing down, but it'll be interesting how they answer because of criminal liability that might be at hand.
We will keep your words in mind as we watch this testimony unfold later this week. Jonathan, thank you so much for joining us.
I am going to be doing a late show tomorrow, right around 7 p.m. my time. Our president will be addressing the Congress. And there are already Democrats saying, I'm not going to go, blah, blah, blah. You know, if I was a constituent and my congressman said, hey, I'm not going to go to this, address from the president, I'd be like, well, you don't fucking get paid for that day. Come on. These motherfuckers don't show up for votes. They should miss pay for that day. If motherfuckers miss events like this with no legit reason, they should lose pay for that day. I think that would work. You know how much money we could get back from these congressmen not showing up to work? Bro. They're getting paid by us, so why can't we give them a pay cut? Why can't we dock them their pay? Right? That makes too much sense.
Fox News Alert here. New outrage over another ICE raid leak, this time giving criminal migrants facing arrest an early warning in Northern Virginia, disrupting a large-scale enforcement operation.
Did I get the same story back to back? My bad. All right, so now we're going to head to the case that I was talking about. An arrest that was made, I believe this morning or last night, by none other than Sheriff Grady Judd. All right. And he's going to talk about an illegal. And if I get stories that run in together for a reason, well, what else do we typically follow on my show?
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for being with me today. What I'm going to discuss with you is a snapshot of a very horrible event that's going on all over this country by illegal aliens. And the state of Florida has a brand new law to help deal with that. That still doesn't help our victim. Let me introduce you to Alvaro Jimenez. He's 32 years of age, and he lives in Mulberry. He's a day laborer. He came into this country illegally in 2019. After he entered the country illegally, he registered with ICE and was following their directions until about 2021, and that's when he quit cooperating and ICE lost track of him. When he entered this country, he entered with who was at that time a very young child. And the child's mother did not enter the country. He had access to this child. So let me go back to the last 3 years. The child was between the ages of 12 and 15 years of age when he began to sexually batter the child.
Remember, this is a drama-free zone unless it involves the topic we're talking about. All right? Just a refresher. Nothing against anybody in the room. I just like to refresh people's memories. Because that drama shit's gay. And if there's lives, honestly, guys, I've really stopped following, except for like 2 people. But it's whatever.
He refused to enroll her in school. He kept her segregated. She had no social life. He didn't want her in an environment where she could tell anyone anything. And quite frankly, it was a challenge because she is from Guatemala, he is from Guatemala, and she speaks a Mam language, which is a native Mayan language for the Guatemala people. As we have done our interviews with her, there's still investigation to do. We're trying to focus on someone who can speak this Mayan language more clearly so we can get more details. So obviously we want to bring more charges if we can. But for 3 years, the child was not in school, she was not socialized, she couldn't speak English, she was a prisoner. And this guy was sexually battering her. She dialed 911. And we went to rescue her, and that's exactly what we did. He is charged with a series of significant felonies. But
so listen, if this is in Florida, and I'm pretty sure Ron DeSantis signed a bill that makes something like this punishable by death. Fuck sending this dude back to his country. Proven, he did it. Case closed. Fucking hang him. Publicly. What's the big fucking deal? Oh, it's inhumane. Oh, okay. My bad. Let's drown him. Put him in a cage and slowly dunk it into the water. Oh, that's inhumane? Not true. That's how they told us to kill animals in Iraq. Horrible. Well, yeah, that's literally what they told us to do.
To the 3 third-degree felonies he was charged with now have been bumped up to a second-degree felony because of the new law that Speaker of the House, Danny Perez, President of the Senate, Ben Albritton, and ultimately Governor DeSantis signed. Because of this, he's going to be held to a higher level of accountability. But the sexual battery, which was already a first-degree felony on a child, has now been bumped up to a life felony. Now, I want to give you a snapshot here.
Okay.
That child should have never been sexually abused.
That's what shit I've been talking about the whole time. Like all these unaccompanied minors that come across the border that they lost track of. Where the fuck are they? All at least, you know, by the numbers of the media, 350,000 children. Where are they? Well, we know shit like this was happening and people just don't want to look down to it, right? They're like, oh, you know, it's not really happening. You guys are just right-wing extremists. I'm not a right-wing extremist. I'm not even right-wing. I'm not a fucking bird.
Should have never been violated. Should never been held enslaved so she couldn't freely live in society. Should not have happened. But it shouldn't have happened in the United States of America. So we're going to deal appropriately with this guy through our criminal justice system. But I want to underscore here for those who are doing the hand wringing and oh my goodness, and you know, the illegal aliens aren't a problem. And yes, some of them, a few of them are a big problem. And guess who's going to...
I love Grady. He's just like our president. And says it like it is. Says it like it is.
Pay for his keep for arguably the rest of his life if he's convicted as charged.
All 2 months of it.
The taxpayers of the state of Florida. But you can duplicate this thousands upon thousands upon thousands of times across the United States with some form of felony charges. I do want to tell you that ICE is working very, very close with us. They confirmed his illegal status, and they have gone above and beyond. It is amazing when the administration changes and the new administration says, time out. We're over illegal aliens in this country victimizing people in this country. And that's what happened here. I am thankful for our governor, our Speaker of the House, President of the Senate, who passed this new law so that we can upgrade these charges. And we are forwarding those upgraded charges to the state attorney's office. The investigation is still ongoing, and there very well may be more criminal charges as this rolls out. Is there any questions?
Sheriff, did you say this is the first case in Polk County where you've upgraded charges like this?
This is the first case in Polk County where we've upgraded the charges as a result of the very new law that passed.
Oh, shit.
Maybe it's the new one in the state of Florida. I don't know, but I know it's the first in Polk County.
Sheriff, how was the young girl related to this man? We did see he was facing incest charges.
We do not discuss the relationship. That would be not only morally, ethically wrong, but it's legally wrong. He had access to this child, and the mother of the child was not here, is not in this country. But at the end of the day, he did have access to this child.
Were they even related?
Which put him in a position to even receive more charges.
How's the victim doing?
The victim is physically all right. She is, as you can well understand, emotionally and mentally disturbed. We have her in DCF custody. We're working with her.
They not only they not only just gave him access to the child, but they didn't know she was here. That's the thing. She was illegally trafficked into America by this guy, most likely. And probably the mom paid him to get over here to be on a better life. Well, that's pretty much not what they expected. And they're doing it all the time. It happens.
That we can find somebody that can adequately and appropriately communicate with her. This is, I don't call it a dialect. This is a different language. It's a language that is native to Guatemala, and it's not the normal type of Latino language or Spanish language that we see. So while we're communicating very well, we think there's more details that we'll be able to find out as soon.
Better yet, the kids that do document, they don't really check on who they're giving the child to. They'll be like, oh yeah, I'm a friend of the family. And they're like, oh, yep, somebody got to get this person. And that shit happens a lot. They got caught.
As soon as we find the proper counselor that also has the dialect or the language.
Will she be deported back to her home country?
We obviously want to reunite her at the appropriate time with her family. But at this time, we need her here as a witness, or we don't have a case.
Sheriff, what kind of message do you hope that this sends to the undocumented or the illegal immigrants here in this country that commit crimes?
I think the message should be clear that this is a new day. It's a new president. We have new laws, and you're going to be held ultimately accountable for any of your felonious conduct. What's important to understand here is don't commit crime first and foremost.
Yeah.
And get out. Go southbound and down. Self-deport. If you're a criminal in here, you're ultimately going to be locked up in our jail and prison system for even a longer amount of time than normal. But at the end of the day, we're going to hold you ultimately accountable. It's not like you're going to get arrested for this horrific crime and we're going to say, well, if you'll go back to Guatemala, you're free. That's not true. That's not true. We're going to make sure you pay for this horrific, horrendous criminal conduct
with his life
here first. Then we'll deport you.
Fuck that. He won't get a chance. You know what?
If the federal...
Let me rephrase that. Yes. I fully support deporting this motherfucker. in an urn. In ashes. A fucking urn. A little fucking Ziploc bag. Those one of those gallon ones. And you know the ones that don't really fucking seal? Yeah, that's how we should deport them.
Federal government, if the administration had been doing what they should have done and not allowed these folks to pour across this border committing crime, then this wouldn't have occurred here. Hopefully it wouldn't have occurred anyplace.
You suggested felons in Florida and Polk County, they should self-deport. Is that one of the goals of this new legislation in your eyes?
The goal of the new legislation is to hold criminals accountable. And if you come here illegally to commit crime, you're ultimately going to be held accountable. So my suggestion is if you're here committing crime, any crime, you need to go southbound and down. Get out of here before you get locked up for a very long time. That's our message. It should be crystal clear. But I can tell you right now, Alvaro Jimenez is going to prison upon his conviction here, probably for the rest of his life.
All 2 months of it.
At the cost to the local taxpayers, because the federal government didn't do their job and keep him out of here in the first place.
Do you suspect any other victims of the suspect?
We will be investigating to see if there are any other victims, absolutely. If you're capable of abusing one child sexually, you're capable of abusing other children sexually.
The crazy thing is, like, he didn't get caught for a while. So that would imply not only has he done it before, the other personnel around him, Jesus Christ, other people around him are doing it too. So does he have a network? That would be interesting to know. How did it go on? So how did they find out? I have so many questions. And not only do I have so many questions, we're going to switch topics for now. The OPM and the president and all that. If those, federal workers want to know what you did last week.
The Office of Personnel Management sent out a new email over the weekend that once again asked federal workers to send 5.
Oh, by the way, my wife got that email. And I told her, well, just tell them what you did last week. It's not that fucking hard. Unless you didn't do anything, then it's gonna be hard.
5 bullet points on what they did last week. Replies to the email are reportedly due before midnight tonight. I want to bring in CBS News White House reporter Aaron Navarro to talk more about this. So, Aaron, what are you hearing from the agencies on how their employees are met and expected to respond? I know that Pete Hegseth, the defense secretary, did an about-face after originally the reporting was that you did not have to submit those that update, that email to the DOJ team. Now he's saying you have to.
That's right. That's probably the most notable change this time around. The Department of State is now instructing their civilian employees, at least, to respond to this email asking for 5 things they did last week. The last time this email was sent, they
not
told
just
their
Department of
employees
State.
not to. We've seen reports of the State Department continuing their stance that employees do not have to respond to this email, potentially out of confidentiality concerns. The email this time did say that employees who deal with sensitive info can opt out entirely of a full response, but we're still seeing some variety among agencies on how to respond to this email and if this email will continue. Just before I got on to talk with you, I got guidance from a Social Security Administration employee who notes at the end of an email from their manager that following this week, employees should be expected to respond before the Monday deadline. So again, implying that this could go on for the next couple of weeks. I just want to, zoom out and also note that this comes as the guidance from the Office of Personnel Management, kind of the HR wing of the federal government.
Tell my wife, listen, all you got to do is tell them one simple thing. She's one of 3 people that can receive firearms and one of 3 people that can sell the firearms without a manager checking it to making sure it's correct. That's pretty good. How many weapons did you ship and receive? When she talks, she says you get quite a consistent amount. on a daily basis. Unfortunately, if I go there to, receive my weapons, I can't. I have to get somebody that's not her. It's gay. Then again, it's not. I could always pass a background check, right?
Federal government is to have federal agencies submit reorganization plans, plans for big reductions in force by March 13. So it's still not yet known what is exactly going to happen with these emails, but if you pair that with potential big cuts coming down the pipeline, it's really notable.
Yeah, I was just looking through my emails there to see if there was any reporting on how people at the Department of Defense and the State Department are reacting. As you know, Aaron, a couple of weeks ago, we saw folks, for example, from the Land and Forestry Management who had been fired unceremoniously, posting on social media that they had been fired for reasons beyond their comprehension, even though they'd received great reviews. So let me ask you about this. CBS News has also confirmed that the acting assistant administrator for USAID Global Health has also been placed on administrative leave. What's behind that?
Yeah, Nicholas
He's useless.
Enrich, the acting assistant administrator for Global Health, was put on leave after just days after issuing a memo that was critical of the Trump administration, of Secretary of State Rubio, for their waiver process. Rubio had talked a lot about how there will be exemptions for life-saving care, humanitarian assistance.
Makes sense.
In a pretty detailed memo laying out the timeline of his own experience, Enrich wrote about how that wasn't actually followed through. Funds were not able to be drawn, and he really blames a lot of the turmoil and the effort from the Trump administration and DOJ to essentially gut USAID. He pointed to the refusal to pay for assistance and services rendered, said that DOJ shut down their payment system. And in one notable line in a memo he had last Friday, he wrote that all of this will, quote, no doubt result in preventable death, destabilization, and threats to national security on a massive scale. So definitely a big whistleblowing moment from him in that memo, and just days after now, he's just put on leave.
All right, Aaron Navarro reporting for us from Washington. Thank you, Aaron.
Take care.
Put on leave, huh? Wonder why. If you're the top and you don't, do the required assignment, I guess, task, then why should you even be in charge? You're getting paid by taxpayers. Again, who's held accountable? Nobody. Except for DOJ, which all of a sudden they're totally against. They love rich people. And by the way, Elon paid $11 billion in taxes. They hate rich people, want to take their money. But, forgot where I was going with that because I looked on the screen to see what the next subject was. Had a Buck and Biden moment there for a second. Holy shit. What the hell is this? So why is it? Okay. So the next and last story is about an hour and a half, or until I get tired of watching it. It's going to be secrets from the Democratic financier for the Kamala Harris campaign. And hello, Miss Nunya. Welcome to the cult meeting, but it's not my cult. It's the liberal cult that's about to be semi-exposed by a legal immigrant. Oh, whoa, legal. An American citizen. Did it the right way. Interesting how that works. So this is, I believe, today. And this is Lindy Lee. Lindy Lee. Somebody that woke up when she realized she was being lied to over and over. Whoa. 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 What just happened? No. Okay. There we go. My bad. Technical difficulties because, my producer fucking sucks. Yeah. I don't think he knows what he's doing for real.
How much time did you spend with Kamala?
A lot. They came to my house. I hosted them for free. I'm one of those rich who give money. I don't get paid for any of this.
Nothing.
Nothing. I feel like it stole half a decade of my life. And I realized conservatives were right all along. That's what we're deciding between the continued existence of a republic or an authoritarian regime.
And President Trump wants America to prosper.
What really happened in 2020 when Biden won?
They gave us talking points on a daily basis.
Oh, shit.
The campaign, the White House, we were sent talking points. And I'm going to catch so much flack. But I'm
Do you still have proof?
I do have one picture that looks kind of weird.
Of you and him?
Yeah. Oh my God, I'm about to make news, aren't I? Someone told me that he's having an affair.
Oh.
With his wife, who's basically become a national hero.
Who did you learn that has the most power behind closed doors that everybody fears, that no one knows about?
There were 3 of them. They were essentially the president behind the scenes, and Biden was just the facade.
Like, what could they do?
They could do anything.
What's anything?
Run the world.
What's anything? Literally anything.
You know what I wanted to know about this podcast here, this sit down with Lindy Lee? I mean, she's been all over the place. I wanted to find out how all these people were behind closed doors and who really had the power. She gave 3 names of the most powerful people under Biden's administration. She broke down the relationship between Joe Biden and Kamala. Unbelievable. She spent time around Kamala, Hillary, every one of them, Obama, Clooney. We covered so many different things and how the whole thing came about. I said, what happened behind closed doors when the President Trump had the assassination attempt? What was the reaction like on the DNC side? What did people say? Were some people celebrating? A lot was covered. You'll be blown away by this sit down with her. And I asked right off the bat the question a lot of people want to know. Is she straight up? Is she real? Is she that? Is she this? And right in the first 2 minutes, you're going to hear that question being asked. And for some of you, whether you agree with her or you don't agree with her, guess what?
What?
She's also on Minect. So you can go to Minect. QR code is probably going to be right here. Ask her any questions you got as well on Minect. Enjoy this interview with Lindy Lee.
30 seconds. And Minect is like a moneymaker for them.
The future looks you are one of. Okay, so we got a special guest here today. Let me tell you who we have. We have Lindy Lee. If you watch television after election, you will recognize the face because she was all over the place. I think the first time I saw it was on a Chris Cuomo. When Chris Cuomo had her on, it's like, hey, here's what's going on. Democratic donor turns, flips, all this stuff. And next thing you know, she's all over the place on the conservative outlets. Everybody's putting her on. She's coming back and forth telling stories, different podcasts, different shows. And then we've been talking. Eventually, we said, you know,
so
let's
is she a
have a
psyop?
conversation together. To give the exact title was Mid-Atlantic Regional Chair at the DNC, and now a conservative. And she's got a lot of enemies. And I got some questions I want to ask her, and she's straight up open to any questions. So having said that, it's great to have you on a podcast.
Pat, it's so good to be here.
Yes.
Honestly, you are a superstar.
Thank you. How are you handling all these shots you're taking? People are coming after you left and right.
You know, it's actually, I was just texting somebody in the middle of the night a few hours ago, and I was saying something, after my Sean Ryan interview, something cracked. I'm no longer the same person I was before that interview.
Mm-hmm.
The amount of hate and the amount of venom in that hate has altered me, I think. Hopefully not permanently, but there's just something just snapped. It's just, and what did I do? Let's think about what actually happened. I told the truth, right? That's really what happened. And there are, on the right, there are people who are pissed off that I jumped the line, so to speak, that I'm getting media attention. On the left, they're so angry that I told the truth because they don't want to be held accountable for the billions that they set on fire. They don't want to be held accountable for the conspiracy around Biden's cognitive decline.
So in the last week, I'll just tell you in the last week what happened. When I'm doing an interview, I'll ask peers, what do you think? What do you think? What do you think? And these are the different responses I got from people, just so you know that.
All right.
One response was, she's my favorite. I love her. She exposed everybody.
Trump.
You have to talk to her. She's amazing. Let her talk. Let her tell all the dirt, the stuff that the DNC has done, et cetera, et cetera. Great. And by the way, that was a lot of people that were on that side. I'm at a Goldman Sachs event 2 days ago in Miami, and one of the vice chairs is giving a talk to a small group of 40, 50 people. One of the investors that's their client that's theirs comes up to me, watches a podcast. He says, let me tell you about this. What do you think about this Lindy Lee girl? And he's telling me this. I'm like, what do you think about her? So I'm curious. I'm getting ready. I think she's a plant. I think she's a grifter. I think she's a this. I said,
plant
really?
From where?
Well, he's telling me this. And this is a guy that's a $500 million guy. He's a money guy. So I said, let me ask you, who did you vote for? I voted for Trump. Really?
Oh.
So would you consider yourself a rhino? Were you a Nikki Haley? I can't stand Nikki Haley. Really? And you don't like Lindy? I don't like Lindy. Very
Well, she's Asian.
So you're not with it. No, you're not. All right. So then I'm sitting there myself. I'm saying, the tweets from you, right, in the past. You've seen these tweets that were in the past. I mean, this is just...
rapist thug, let's just talk about it.
Right, just in the last 4 years. I'll give you some of these things you said, right? 2020, February 26, Joe Biden has the biggest heart of any of the candidates. He also doesn't raise our blood pressure or alienate 70% of the party, rest of America. That's 4 years ago, 5 years ago. Then there's another one. Happy National Joe Day. I took this in SF last year. Every time we meet, Biden is kind and compassionate. That's that one. Great, no problem. You're saying nice things about Biden.
Right.
Another one here is, I was with President Biden a few minutes after the debate tonight. Here we are at the watch party. He was amazing and kind, as he always is, remembering tiny details about me and my family. I don't care what the pundits say about this great man. I will always be Team Biden. That's June of 2024.
Of course, Biden's going to remember family, especially if they're kids.
Then there's another one here, July 21st. I fully endorse Kamala Harris for president. She is a fierce champion for everything we hold dear, including our cherished democracy, reproductive rights, et cetera, et cetera.
Oh, those were the talking
points. To the
points.
haters out there, underestimate the Vice President Kamala Harris at your peril. She is a tremendous force for good. Another one. Nikki Haley is just jealous because Kamala Harris is more powerful and closer at the presidency than she'll ever be. I mean, I can go on and on and on and read all this stuff, right? I will tell you, I think it's very important that you're talking about it, but I wrote 2 other things down that maybe caused you to want to leave. And I'd be curious to know, any one of these, I'd love for you to just get into it so the audience knows, and then we can get into all the questions. Did someone offend you? Did somebody try to bully you? Did something happen at the end with just the camel? You know, it was like, I am absolutely done with this bullying, with this threat, with all this bullshit. I'm out of here. I'm going to tell all your BS because you guys didn't keep your commitment. You guys didn't play the game, and you left. What was it for you to make this dramatic of a change within a few days?
First of all, it was a few months. I know this is not what I anticipated at all. And thank you for, you're always extremely fair to your guests. So I know that I have critics out there, and I'm happy to address all of their questions and concerns. It wasn't just bullying. Bullying I can take. I've been hated on and screamed at and spit upon all my life. And I'm sure you have too. You know what it's like. It's just part of the cost of doing business.
For sure.
Bullying is one thing. The death threats, the smear campaigns, the cancer culture campaigns, that's a whole other level. Going after my parents who have nothing to do with this, finding their address, harassing these two, like they're getting up there. You know?
Is your former colleagues. You're saying
absolutely.
Okay,
my parents who have absolutely nothing at all to do with this. They just love me. That's their only crime. Like to drag them in, to drag my brother in. That is just so I'm getting like heated just talking about it. That is not acceptable.
In what way did they do that?
Messaging my parents with these threats. My mom, I have receipts. I don't know. I can send you the screenshot after my brother telling me my mom has been freaking out all day because of the death threats, and she had to file a police report. It's just so over the top. Like going after me is one thing. I can take it, but my mom, who has
the tolerant left, they make sure that they keep all minorities protected. Unless you go against them, then you don't count.
So it's just out of bounds.
What were they telling your mom? And how soon was it? After the election? Like
a week or two. When it wasn't at that point, I was just asking questions. Like it wasn't even. I was like, "What happened to the $2.5 billion we raised?
Oh,
why did we spend it on Beyonce? Why did we spend 2.5? Why did we spend millions of dollars on Oprah? Like legitimate questions that needed to be answered.
Tell us how much.
But the amount of hate I got for that was just overwhelming. And the final straw, the moment that I knew that I needed to leave was actually around Christmas Eve.
Right.
When the chair of the party, he's the biggest clown that the Democratic Party has ever, like honestly, in recent history, I can't think of a more incompetent boob than this man.
Wow.
And if you just look at him,
it's pretty bad to be an incompetent boob.
Yeah.
Not good.
Not a regular boob,
Rob,
but an incompetent boob.
Which one are you talking about?
Jamie Harris.
Okay, I got you. Tell me why.
You can go on his timeline. Just look at his tweets from yesterday. They're all about me. If he had spent more time attacking Republicans or actually running a campaign, we wouldn't. And if he had spent half the time he did attacking me on attacking Republicans, they wouldn't be in this situation. Do you see it? He's calling me a narcissist. He's showing my private communications. This guy is obsessed.
What's he showing, Rob? Can we see it? Lindy Lee, you're a narcissist, and the only question
and
you
he's black.
raised to me were those asking how you could get another picture with
Never mind, guys. He's not racist. He's black. My bad. My bad.
Or how you could get into the reverse seating areas of rallies, grifters going to grift. You are a fraud, but the next time you want to check me on Newsmax, make sure you share some of the notes you sent.
You know what set him off? I said that he engaged in a conspiracy to hide Biden's cognitive decline. Instead of engaging with me on the content and substance of my criticisms, he's doing this childish 5-year-old shit. Like, honestly, grow up. Are you a toddler? And for the past couple months, he's been tweeting gifs at me of like raging dumpster fires instead of answering the basic question: why did we squander the hard-earned money of the American people? We had a duty of care to them, a trust. If people are giving money to the Democratic Party, we needed to be good stewards of those funds, not blowing it on 5-star hotels for ourselves or fancy dinners or whatever, which is what he did. And the fact that he chose not to run for re-election tells you everything, that no one has confidence. And I'm still in touch with Democratic donors at that level. You know, the uniparty stuff, there's a certain element of truth to that. I still am friends with a lot of Democratic donors. All of them think so little of this guy. He failed upwards. He lost bitterly to Lindsey Graham and then got his job as DNC chair because he was friends with James Clyburn. But I don't even want to waste oxygen talking about him. But he is just an emblem of what is wrong with this Democratic Party. They don't want to answer substantive questions. They go for these personal attacks.
But what I want to know is, you know, you hear stories. You know, Reagan used to be a Democrat. He left the party, and he went and became a Republican. And you read the story, something happened. You know, you see, normally it's the other way around, the left leaving to the right. I mean, we saw Bobby leaving. I don't know if he's a Republican, but he's working with Trump. Tulsi leaving, you know, independent and probably Republican, and she's over here, right? You see some of the people from the left. But what did they do to you behind closed doors? When you're asking, and who are you in direct contact with? Like, who is calling you out? Who is saying things to you? Who is not answering you? Was there a moment where you said, if you guys don't do X, Y, Z, I'm out? Did that moment ever happen?
He was the top of the chair. He was the top of the party.
And how often are you communicating with him?
He only communicates in public. He doesn't answer any private communications. He wants the drama. He's using me for clickbait, to be clear. He doesn't want to answer any questions. But it wasn't just one single incident. I've been shifting rightward for the past couple of years. There are a lot of things in my personal life that have egged me on here. And I mean, I don't want to bore you with the details, but there are a lot of deeply personal things that shaped, you know, as a conservative, conservative is a liberal mugged by reality. And I have literally been mugged by people on the street in Philadelphia by a progressive, which is run by a progressive George Soros funded prosecutor.
Which one?
This is very personal, but it's true, and people might not recognize the impact of it. I was
she's
on
from
birth
Philly.
control for 5 years.
What?
I was told of it. This is very personal, but it's true, and people might not recognize the impact of it. I was on birth control for 5 years. I was told to get on it by a liberal doctor who basically marketed it as something that would solve. I have health issues. I didn't go on it for licentious behavior or anything like that. It was supposed to help with something. But it completely altered my mind almost. And when I decided to come on.
Was she taking it for estrogen? Maybe she is actually a he. I mean, she is from China. Then again, if she was from Thailand, it would make it easier.
Off it in May 2023, I feel like I reclaimed my life, and I realized conservatives were right all along. And people might ridicule me for citing this as a reason, but I feel like it stole half a decade of my life. Half a decade that I was kind of living on the sidelines of what I could have been. And so I'm playing catch up. I've been playing catch up for the past 2 years because I bought into that ideology that birth control was going to, you know, it would herald independence, a new era for women. But it actually just hijacked my mind. And so that happened, and then the assaults on the street, and I've always been conservative. I've been a Christian all my life, and the party has just been lurching to the left. I want nothing at all. It makes me sick. I don't want nothing to do with the woke and the trans ideology. I didn't sign up for that. That was a recent development, right? In the past 5-6 years, the Democratic Party that I joined.
I mean, it is China. I don't know. Could be. Maybe not. Oh, fuck.
Was rooted in middle-class values of moderation, fiscal responsibility, you know?
While you're there, and I get that, but to me, you know, while you're in it and you're raising the money, 10 million, 2 million, 3 million, you're raising millions for these guys, right? What's the incentive? Meaning, is there a comp plan? Is there a way you're getting paid on the money you raise?
Oh, by the way, I wasn't paid. I'm a donor. I'm one of those rich fucks who give money. I don't get paid for any of this.
Nothing. So what was your motivation to do that?
I love to do it. I love politics. I just love it. My entire life. I want to be very clear, and some people don't understand English or don't understand the English that I speak. Let me say it one more time. I was not paid a single dime to raise money for Biden, Harris, or anybody. They came to my house. I hosted them for free. My family, we own a lot of real estate. We donated a church. We donated buildings. We didn't collect. Actually, Oprah should have done what I did. We made in-kind contributions, and we covered the rent and the production costs. Oprah was reimbursed. She got $2 million. We didn't take any money. So I was not paid. I want to be very clear. Those people calling me a grifters, they're either ignorant or they're liars.
This is very important, though,
it's
to say
important.
This. So nobody ever paid you.
And no one, are you paying me today?
No,
exactly.
No, but what I'm saying is during that time, so you're raising this money for no reason, then it has to be.
Feisty little one.
I love it. I know it's so hard for people to understand, but I love to be in the center of the action. This is what having come from an authoritarian regime, that would have arrested me by now. Like, I was born in China where women in politics was just, it's just unthinkable.
What's up, Twomper?
I consider it a sacred trust to be involved in politics, to shape American thought. It's such an honor to be here.
So it's for the love of the game. Now, okay, so let me be devil's advocate. Is it getting into parties? Is it getting you into meetings that maybe you wouldn't have gotten if you wouldn't have given that money? Is it getting you to meet people that's kind of cool?
But that's not all of it. It's also just, I loved, shaping as an influencer, as, someone who worked so hard. I'm a commissioner of Pennsylvania, by the way. I was appointed by the governor to, have an impact on my communities, on my state, on my Commonwealth. That's amazing. It's something that, as someone who comes from a communist regime, I never would have had that opportunity. So I think even my brother, who's born here, he doesn't understand why I care so much. He's in business. He just doesn't understand my fixation with politics.
So if you're raising money for these guys, and it has nothing to do with, you're not getting paid nothing. There's no so you have to raise money. Why weren't you raising money for Republicans? Why did you raise money for Democrats?
I wonder that a lot during the campaign, actually.
Why didn't you?
Why didn't you?
I really wonder that. I was like, actually, we were at a dinner with Doug Emhoff, and my guest was like, "Why are we here?" we were watching the antics on the stage, and my guest was like, "We're on the wrong team, aren't we?" And this is in the middle of the campaign. So yeah, that question, I'm crying right now just talking about it. But like in the middle, I was like, "This isn't right." Like neither of us identified. The party was shifting so quickly.
Then why did she stop? Why didn't she stop? Huh.
It was happening in like real time. And they worshipped like LGBTQIA+. Every year there's another letter added. Next year there's going to be like a Z attached or something. And
they're thinking that's resonating with the people, but it's not. When you're in it with others who are also raising money and they're seeing how things are going, were there any others like you on the inside that are like, Lindy, what are we doing here? What the hell is going on? Are there other fundraisers like you out there?
You mentioned Goldman Sachs. Yes. A lot of my donors. I'm sorry, people are going to call me a Wall Street shill, and I did work for Morgan Stanley. So, but those, as a donor, you have to have money, and a lot of my donors are in finance, and so they're conservative leaning, and they gave because I asked them to, not because they really believe. They gave because they're my friends. And a lot of them were like, oh, wow, this party is becoming like a little bit too much. But also, to be honest, many of them consider Trump to be an existential threat to democracy. And for these folks, for the business people, they want a stable economy most of all. They want, a prosperous stock market. They want America to prosper and to be stable.
Then why did they ignore the 4 years of the Trump presidency? Weren't they pretty prosperous?
And to not be turbulent.
Did you spend time with, how much time did you spend with Kamala, with Doug Emhoff, with Biden? How much time did you spend with them?
A lot.
It's very hard. How different are they when the cameras are off versus when the cameras are on?
Doug slaps her?
Joe is who I was, again, speaking with somebody recently. I don't think he remembers his misdeeds from years ago.
Joe.
I don't think he remembers. I think he's significantly mellowed in recent years. Doug Emhoff is the one that's most different in terms of public and private persona. Joe is just Joe. And I have a lot of criticism to level against Joe Biden. His decision to stay in that race was catastrophic.
Whoa. Slow down. Tell us more about Doug Emhoff behind closed doors. I think we know. Maybe that's why Kamala always has her neck covered.
Nation, his decision to run in 2020.
I'm supporting that in any way. All right, calm down. Relax. All right, relax. It's not a dick. Don't take it so hard.
And his dissent right now, it's just such a disservice to our country. But on a personal level, he was always kind to me. Always kind. And a part of me, and I'm going to catch so much flack, but I'm here to be honest. A part of me will always love him for that kindness that he's shown me. The kindness that he's shown my father, whom he's met. I introduced him to people that I love. He was always so deeply kind. And I'm sorry if that offends people, because I know people want to think of Biden as some evil monster. And he did do really bad things. But on a one-on-one level with him, he was just...
What was that instance with you when he said, how's your husband doing? And, which... Was that when you kind of knew his memory is gone, or was he?
Well, I knew that before, because when I hosted him at the Mayflower, the hotel in D.C. on May 1st. He stomped over my event by making news that day by calling our allies, India and Japan, xenophobic, and I was like, oh my god.
Oh.
Like, it was supposed to be a joyful event, and an American president isn't supposed to be attacking our allies like that. But he either didn't remember, or I don't know what.
Or should they? Should our presidents be attacking our allies who, in reality, are just using us?
What happened? He had a brain fart that day.
Now, the audience doesn't know. You're not married. So when he said, how's your husband doing?
Well, most of the people at that event know me. They know that I don't have But everyone
he's saying that it's just kind of like
laughed. Everyone just laughed. Exactly.
Got it. So he wasn't trying to be funny. He was actually asking.
Oh, no. That was earnest.
That was earnest. So he was asking a question.
Yeah, absolutely.
So how was Doug Emhoff?
Ernest P. Worrell?
Was he charming, charismatic?
I have something to say about Doug.
Sure.
Those allegations against him of hitting his girlfriend, the mainstream media covered it up the same way they covered up Hunter Biden's laptop. It sickens me. If it were Trump, if someone accused Trump, and it wasn't just accused, it was credibly accused with multiple eyewitnesses, multiple contemporaneous people that the woman reached out to. If that had happened to Trump, people would have raised hell. They would have asked him day in and day out.
They would have been burning buildings down.
Can you think of one mainstream media journalist who asked Doug? Absolutely not. Total crickets. Nobody asked him about hitting the girlfriend so hard she spun around. And impregnating the nanny. Again, these are allegations, I want to be clear, but no one asked him about that. There were plenty of allegations flying around Trump, and he's always asked about them.
What did you guys say behind closed doors about the
We believe the woman.
You believe the woman?
I believe the woman.
While you're raising money, you believe the woman? I believed,
yeah. That came out, I think, in September. I actually stopped raising in September. I stopped. I haven't told anyone, but I stopped. In September, I stopped.
When the story came out, that's the last time you started?
That wasn't the catalyst, but as many things that I mentioned, again, it's not like one specific thing, but my disillusionment with the woke shit and everything, and Me realizing that Harris just wasn't up to for a few weeks, I was like, maybe she could do it. But she avoided the media for an entire month, essentially. I don't know if you remember, like over the summer, she
for
just
sure.
disappeared.
Yeah.
All the
She didn't
months.
want to talk to anybody. It was like 43, 45 days. I don't know what the number was. Right after the announcement, for 45 days, she didn't talk to media at all.
And your wonderful
We know why.
producer, Tony, he was just mentioning she wouldn't come on your podcast.
Yeah, no.
If you are going to be the leader of the free world, you should come on PBD podcast and explain why you deserve the role. But so Doug, what happened to Doug was one reason, because he paraded himself as this like, really supportive husband who loves women, who's a feminist, and then behind closed doors, he's actually a predator, and alleged predator. I want to be very clear, alleged, everyone. Alleged
In Minecraft.
Hasn't been proven in the court of law. I don't want to. He's a lawyer, so I don't want to be sued.
It's very good to use the word allegedly. It's a good insurance policy.
Exactly.
Nowadays. We even have a shirt called allegedly
Hey,
just to
Dougie,
make sure people are safe.
I said alleged.
How was he with you behind closed doors?
He was nice.
Nice, respectful, no.
No, he didn't. I do have one picture that looks kind of weird.
Of you and him?
Yeah.
Show it.
Am I allowed to? Let me
Sure.
pull it up right now, and then but I think he was just being nice.
That's
That's the one. How did you know?
Rob is good. Leave it to Rob to find it.
Okay,
I mean,
that
his
was an
hand is-
ill-fitting dress, so
Okay.
it wasn't entirely his fault. But
So Rob, if you look at his hands, to be fair, he's worried to put his hands behind
Exactly,
the back. So
exactly.
he's playing it.
he's playing it
He's
safe.
been trained well.
By the way, that is the dinner. I told you there was a dinner where my guests and I are like, "What the hell are we doing here?" That was the dinner.
What month is that? Is
that
that
was
September?
in 2023.
That's in
And
2023.
That was in Arizona. And so Ruben Gallego was there, and then Gabby Giffords. Oh, if you want to know something about Gabby Giffords, we're going off on tangents, but you know who's married to her? Mark Kelly, Senator Mark Kelly.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Arizona.
Someone who would know, he markets himself as this man who really loves his wife. Oh my God, I'm about to
Do it.
this, aren't I?
Do it.
Someone
Allegedly.
who would know. Someone told me that he's having an affair with his wife, who's basically become a national hero for being shot. And he is, he portrays himself as this like superhero. Again, alleged. But
Looks
this is
like
someone
Les
I can tell you
Luthor.
off air who told me. This is someone who would definitely know. And it just sickens me, how the Democratic Party is filled with these people who pretend to be family guys, and they're just not.
Who was the biggest turnoff while you're in there, while you're around these guys? You're raising money for them. You're like, man, I want to help these guys
Well,
out.
I
And
mean, other than the DNC chair, who's a total clown. I mean, we already talked about
we
him,
already
right?
talked
Other
about
than
who,
him.
who was the biggest turnoff? Who was rude? Who was disrespectful? Who was fake?
Pete
who was
Buttigieg.
two-faced? Who?
Pete Buttigieg.
Really?
Faggot?
Mhm.
Why?
Because he believes his own press releases and thinks he's hot shit. He thinks he's amazing. And his team is just so rude. So rude. Unbelievably rude.
Really?
Yeah.
She's saying all the shit that we want to hear. Interesting. Interesting, Miss Lindy.
Actually, I'm deeply offended. I will never forget. I'm never going to remember the way that they treated me. It was awful. Absolutely awful.
What's up?
And when I was sitting, I was given front row seats at the DNC. There were people who actually tried to remove me. And I was like, Rosa parking that shit. I was like, I'm not leaving. I'm just not. I earned this. I earned my right to sit here. And they literally tried to remove me from my seats.
Did you pepper spray him?
You can see photos of me in the front row. I just refused to budge.
And why were they trying to remove you? Just to remove you and put it
She was
with
Asian.
another donor?
Exactly.
Huh. How much time did you spend with him?
With Pete?
With Pete?
I spent the least amount of time with him, and after my brief interactions with him, I didn't want to.
How much time did you spend with Kamala?
A lot.
How was she with you?
I co-hosted many for fundraisers. She was, to be honest, she was a sweetheart.
She was a sweetheart.
A
And
stupid
did
sweetheart.
One time, actually, somebody accidentally broke my rib. I know it's a crazy story. I have like early onset osteoporosis. I told you I have some health issues. Someone broke my rib when he hugged me, and the next day, Kamala invited me to our I went to her Christmas party, and she hugged me and my broken rib. And I didn't want to tell her the backstory, but oh my God, like that really hurts. But she hugged me out of love, and That was the funniest story. It's something.
But it caused you
Like when
pain.
the vice president hugs her broken rib. She was a sweetheart, yeah. But that doesn't erase the fact that she was no way qualified to be president of the United States. Like a lot of people are sweethearts, right?
Joe Biden.
Why do you think she wasn't qualified?
Do we? You know the answer.
I
to
have
the
my
question.
opinion, but I want to know yours because again, the difference between me and you is you were in there. You saw the thing.
I didn't know right away. It
Okay.
took me a while to realize.
When was it when you said?
Because I was
she's-
so deep in the cult that I gave everyone the benefit of the doubt. Like I really wanted to believe that Joe is a good guy and he wanted the best for our country. I really wanted to believe that Kamala wasn't being treated fairly in the press. But when she was, for the first couple of weeks, I was like, okay, maybe she's got it. Maybe we should give her a chance. And you read some of my tweets where I was extremely enthusiastic. You have to remember that I was a member of the leadership team. I was a member of the National Finance Committee. It was my job to
Brainwashed?
say those things, to be a team player. Okay, I want to, make sure that people understand. I wasn't just spewing propaganda just because I had nothing better to do. They gave us talking points on a daily basis.
Who's they?
The campaign, the White House, we were sent talking points
Through what format?
through email. But from the Office of Digital Strategy.
Let me see the
we
email.
would get emails from them.
And what would the email look like? What would it say?
It would be like, hey team, here are the talking points that we're gonna discuss today. Oh, and something I should mention, every single time someone dared to question Biden's mental fitness, we were basically told to attack the person. For example, Robert Hur, remember him?
Yep.
The special counsel who's called Biden elderly
Yes,
man
absolutely.
with a
I
poor,
do,
well-meaning
yes.
elderly man with a poor memory.
I mean, he was very respectful about
He
it,
was
the way
so
he delivered the
respectful.
message. I thought he was very
And
respectful.
actually, I was kind of taken back by the racist attacks the Democrats started launching against him. This party of diversity started lobbying, racial animus towards this guy. And I should have learned from that
'Cause he's
that
Asian.
they would do the same thing to me. I should have, but I should have. Now looking back, 2020 is hindsight. But so when something like that would happen, when someone dared to question his fitness, we were told to attack that person personally, to undermine his credibility, to assassinate their character.
This is an email telling you how to do it, or is that on conference calls or Zooms?
If it was something bad like that, it would be on a conference call or Zoom where there wouldn't be a paper trail. But we had very frequent conference calls.
What would they say? They would say, this person said this.
This person has no credibility. Just go after him. And we knew exactly what to do. Like they didn't even, it was very mob-like. It was like very Tony Soprano. And then we were told to go after people like Merrick Garland for slow walking the prosecution.
Garland, out of all people?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah,
To go
because
after
a
him?
lot of libs think that he took his time.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That is so.
There's a huge contingent.
That is so
Yeah.
strange to go
Because
after
I know
him.
a lot of conservatives hate him too. Like,
Oh, yeah.
exactly.
It's interesting. Who did you learn that has the most power behind closed doors that everybody fears, that no one knows about? Who had the most power?
There were three of them. Steve Ricchetti, other than Jill Biden, that was a given, right? Jill Biden, the wife.
Yeah.
She has tremendous power.
We know.
Really?
Yeah, she was a president essentially for the past 4 years.
Oh.
Without a doubt. Without a doubt. I'm actually convinced that if it weren't for Jill, Biden would have not run for re-election. Jill and Hunter what were the two people who kept him in the race because he was worried about his son's freedom, his only remaining son, and Jill didn't want to relinquish power. She was Lady McBiden, as they say. But the three people who had the most power, other than Jill, who's the obvious person, Steve Ricchetti, Mike Donnellan, and Anita Dunn, the senior advisors. I was most close with Anita, who's actually very nice to me.
And what gives them the kind of power they say they have? Like, what could they do?
They could do anything.
What's anything?
Run the world.
So you're telling me Anita Dunn, this is Anita Dunn, which you're
Yes.
saying she was nice to you.
Oh, that's a woman?
And who were the other two you said?
Steve Ricchetti and Mike Donnellan.
Rob, can you pull them up? Steve? Did you say Bichetti?
Ricchetti.
Ricchetti?
R-I-C.
Right there.
It's Italian.
Ricchetti?
Yeah.
Political last served as counselor to the President Biden, who was also chairman of Joe Biden in 2020. Ricchetti previously served as chief of staff to Biden during the Obama administration, deputy chief of operations under Clinton. In between stints in Democratic administration, Ricchetti worked as a lobbyist. And who was the last one you said?
Mike Donnellan. And what's significant about Donnellan is that he was the one feeding Biden the fake poll numbers, saying that he could still beat Trump after the debate.
Oh, okay.
Him right here.
Him right there. And you know what these people have in common? Well, less so with Anita. Anita is kind of an Obama veteran. Donilon and Ricchetti, the reason why they reached that pinnacle of power is because they're longtime friends with Biden. They're not super smart geniuses or anything like that. Their major credential is decades-long loyalty. In 1988, when Biden had to drop out because of plagiarism, Donilon was with him.
Oh.
So they go way back, before I was even alive.
Got it. So are they? Two of them are loyalists to Biden. One of them, Anita, is a loyalist to Obama.
But also loyal. But she comes from Obama world, but she's also a loyalist to Biden. She prides herself on holding Biden's grudges. That's what she says. Yeah.
Huh?
So Biden, he's mellowed out in his years. But Anita, she's a fighter. She was the person who came up with Dark Brandon. Remember that meme?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So grudges, who were some of the people that Anita protected the grudges from? Like if you're saying he was about grudges, who were some of the grudges with? It has to be with the party, with certain people within the party.
Exactly, like people who dare to undermine Biden. Like, for example, Joe Manchin, who wouldn't pass this legislation. Kamala Harris. I hated her.
Oh, yeah.
Her running?
Oh,
while she was VP?
Absolutely. Do you remember in the first couple years of the term, her office was constantly undergoing turmoil?
Yeah.
Right.
It was just, there was so much drama. People were leaving in droves. There was so much turnover. Anita Dunn and crew, they didn't think highly of Harris. She couldn't run her own office. And Ron Klain, who was the chief of staff at the time, he was replaced by Jeff Zients. He had to come in, exert control over the situation.
So far, Manchin, Kamala. By the way, did Biden and Jill choose Kamala as the VP?
Jill hates Kamala Harris.
Oh, you can tell.
Hates her.
Recently or always?
Viciously.
Why?
Always.
Wait a minute. Is that why him and Jill made out in front of Kamala? And the world? Oh. Jill's sneaky. Lydia explains it.
If I remember correctly, it was June 28th, 2019.
I remember
when the bus thing.
I remember that.
Exactly.
Can you pull that up, Rob, if you're talking about the bus thing? Yeah.
And the bus thing, I was with Biden the next day in San Francisco at a fundraiser. And he was shook. No one expected that to happen. And Jill was one of the people who opposed Biden picking Kamala for VP.
Really?
But he kind of tied himself in knots when he promised to pick a black woman. He left himself with a few options,
So
I wonder what would have happened if he had
was
picked
Kamala
Stacey
chosen
Abrams.
as the VP because Biden had to choose it based on what Trump said, based on what Obama said, or he wanted her because she was polling well, and let me choose her as a VP instead of other guys that you
by
couldn't
polling well, you mean 1%.
Well, at one point she got up to 17. I think at one point she was at 14%.
And then dropped 1% and never recovered.
So
she didn't
then
even
why
make it to Iowa.
So then why would you choose her as a VP?
2 words. James Clyburn, who saved his ass in South Carolina. So many things can be attributed to this guy. Because if it weren't for James Clyburn, we never would have had the Biden presidency.
Why is that?
Because he came in 5th in New Hampshire and lost Iowa terribly.
I remember that.
And the only reason why he won South Carolina in such dramatic fashion was because James Clyburn, who's so widely loved in the state, endorsed him.
So if James Clyburn doesn't endorse him, he doesn't win South Carolina,
He's done.
who would have been a replacement?
They were scared it would have been Sanders. Do you remember that? All the moderates
For sure.
coalesced
Amy,
together.
that
Amy
explains a
Klobuchar,
lot. Warren.
Exactly. Actually, Warren was, she's progressive, but all the moderates got together and endorsed Biden that night. I think it was in a joint rally in Houston, or somewhere in Texas. And so Clyburn saved him. And with that came tremendous power. He got him to promise that the VP would be a black woman, that this next SCOTUS pick would be a black woman.
So so he's that powerful? Clyburn is that powerful?
He's very powerful.
So,
you know who got him to, this is a very important part that I don't want to forget. Biden endorsed Harris 30 minutes after he dropped out. Do you remember?
I do.
On July 21st. You know who told him to do that?
Who's that?
Oh, James Clyburn.
But why does he owe the favor to him? Just because of him helping him out in South Carolina?
Without James, there's no presidency.
How, though?
He would have been dead in the water. Do you remember? Everyone wrote him off for dead after New Hampshire. It was that bad. He was losing to Pete Buttigieg.
So is James Clyburn a person that's close to, is he part of Obama's camp or he stands alone on his own?
He's very much part of Biden's camp.
So he's not an Obama guy.
He is. I mean, they're all kind of, there's so much overlap, but he's very much a Biden loyalist.
The reason why I'm so we got the three names. Rob, if you can go back to all the three names, Anita being one of them, okay? You had Anita as one. Then we had Stephen Ricchetti. Then you had Michael Donnellan. When you say they could do anything, what were some of the things that they did that people feared? Because the question was, are they feared?
My point is, they were essentially the president behind the scenes, and Biden was
Shadow
just the
government.
facade.
And that's
So
why
whatever-
Mike would give the wrong polls just to make Joe.
So if they're the one running the shadow presidency, where did Obama's go? I thought it was Biden's.
Think that he can, when he has a shot, to
So
keep
that
running.
Mike could continue in power. All of these people knew that this is a final gravy train, that they would never be hired by another. Can you imagine like another Democratic candidate hiring these people? It just wouldn't happen. They are Biden creatures through and through. They realized that this was their last act.
So what do they do now, though? Like, what do they do now to make money? Are they lobbyists? Are
I'm
they
sure
working
they're
for?
rich enough that they don't have to work again.
Due to what? Because the job doesn't pay that well.
Due to what? I mean, these are the same people who came up with like Burisma and the fact that Biden pardoned his family on the last day, not just for the past year, but all the way back to 2014. These people, everyone that I just named, they're all part of Biden world. They're all part, the entire Biden world operation is influence peddling. I'm sure they're fine. Like James Biden was wrapped up in this failed hospital network business. They have businesses in Ukraine, China, all over the place. They're going to be fine.
Well, I mean, something funny is the FBI agent that I was talking to at DOJ when they were dealing with the property that we bought, she was also suing Joe Biden's brother.
Oh, for the
property.
hospital thing?
Yeah,
Oh,
linked to
wow.
it. Very weird. I'm like, wait, what? I'm like looking her up. I'm like, she's suing. Who was this lady? Finally, we had many calls on it. Eventually, when the property was finally on auction, we were able to find a way to pick up the property. But
you showed that
So
property.
Jill Hunter, did you spend any time with Hunter?
He was always in the row in front of me.
Uh-huh.
And we exchanged like pleasantries, but we never had extensive conversations. It wasn't good optics for me to be seen with him. Like, even as a Democrat, I didn't want to be attached with him because he's just such a scumbag, with all due respect. Like, I don't want to be, like, I was always really disgusted by the fact that he was walking around like royalty.
Yeah.
Was he? Like,
He
is that
was,
the-
absolutely. Like, he owned the place. I saw him, we did a fundraiser.
Whose cocaine was it, Lindy? Whose cocaine? I know you
with
know.
George Clooney and Julia Roberts. He was in the front row, pretending like he owned the place. I was involved with a fundraiser with Bill Clinton, Obama, and Biden on, I think, either March or April of 2024 at Radio City Music Hall. And Hunter was again in the front row, pretending like we didn't all see him with his thing hanging out in a bathtub. Like, do you have no shame? I would never want to show my face in public again if that happened to me.
You have to be very shameless to be able to do that and reappear as if nothing happened. And
Like nothing happened, and he would be doing selfies with people with guests. I don't even know why anyone would want a selfie with him, to be honest.
how was Obama around Hunter? Did you see anything?
I actually didn't. I don't remember seeing anything. Obama. You know, one of the biggest casualties of the 2024 election, it's Obama.
I agree.
Yeah, and not just in the eyes of Republicans, but in the eyes of Democratic donors, like the people who matter behind the scenes. People are so fed up with Obama, and also the Obama consultants, Obama veterans, like Jen O'Malley Dillon, who's the chair of the Harris campaign. These people make so much money. You got to remember that $500 million, which were advertising fees, went to just 4 well-connected Democratic firms, and all of them are run by Obama veterans.
Wait, $500 million.
$500 million.
That were advertising fees.
Like
went
TV
to
ads. Like every time you know, like when you run political
Sure.
ads, whoever puts it up for you gets a percentage. And so
firms,
here
like,
and
for
listen. I'll be right
instance,
back.
Bully Pulpit International, which is run. You've heard of them or no?
Bully Pulpit?
Bully Pulpit
Okay.
International.
Yep. I haven't heard of them, but go for it. I'm
They're a
listening.
huge Democratic firm. They're a part of Obama World. They made so much money.
What's the business model on how they make money?
They just create ads for you, and then they just make a shit ton of money. They make a killing, and that's where the donor money went.
So ads, as in these are ad agencies.
The shitty
and they're
ads that
taking
didn't
10
even
or
work.
15% of whatever the ad
Probably
spend they're
more.
doing.
Exactly. It's so much money, and you know how expensive those TV ads are. Hey guys, I'm so excited to be on Connect. I will answer any questions no matter what it is, whether it be politics, sex, your love life, family issues, whatever it is, I'm here for you. I want to be your friend. I want to talk with you and understand you. So please reach out. I can't wait to hear from you. Thanks so much, guys.
So Obama loses credibility. Would you put him at the top as a person that lost the most credibility in 2024 election? As a Democrat.
Underneath Harris and Obama, underneath
Harris.
Biden and Harris. Yeah, absolutely. And you could tell that he was fighting for his third term. Like, he was fighting for his life out there. Remember the time he was lambasting black men for not voting
Yes.
for? Exactly.
Yes.
Like, that was a bit too much.
Lecturing them.
Exactly.
And,
It was very condescending.
Very.
Like, they can't think for themselves.
Very.
Yeah.
Behind closed doors, what did they think of him? Were others saying, I think he has lost his sizzle. I think he's lost his touch. I think
We after that moment, people were like, hold up. That is not the strategy.
But who is saying that? Which powerful people are saying
The
that?
donors, like the people who were funding the whole thing.
They're saying, wow, so it had that big of an
And
impact when
you can hear that he never said it again.
Who were some of the biggest donors? Like in this model where you desperately need the money of the donors, who owns who?
The person at the top of the food chain of the Biden-Harris donor food chain is a guy named Jeff Katzenberg. And if people remember, he's the guy behind DreamWorks Entertainment.
Yeah, he's a player.
Exactly. And people...
I think he started Quibi, and he raised a bunch of money with Quibi,
but then
$2.3 billion, and it failed within 5 months, 6 months.
It was
Quibi-
an embarrassment. Didn't he do it with some governor?
Yeah, Meg Whitman. It was
Exactly.
Meg Whitman and a few other people. Yeah.
Right. And so the theory of the case is that he was so humiliated by that he wanted to rehabilitate his image by proving that he could play it with the big boys, you know, that he could, you know, be the kingmaker. And that's why he went so hard for Biden and Harris.
And
But
but you're saying as a donor, are you saying he said, I don't think Obama has it anymore?
Oh, no, he wasn't. I'm just saying he's the most important donor.
He's the most important donor.
Absolutely. And he was the one who got the Hollywood. He was the person behind the Clooney and Julia Roberts event that I just mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think he mentioned the Biden stuff, but I mean like donors that you wouldn't even recognize. Like, it's not even worth mentioning, but who wield tremendous influence behind the scenes saying Obama shouldn't be attacking black men. Or, for instance, actually, one reason why Biden was so pro-Israel is because all of his donors were pro-Israel. I remember one time it was the morning after the Radio City Music Hall event that I just told you about. A woman got up and gave this teary-eyed speech about Biden standing up for Israel and how thankful she was. And the entire room stood up and applauded her. And for all the progressives wondering why Biden supported Israel, this is why. It's because that's what the donors wanted.
Kamala lost that one because she had a shot. By the way, where were you when Kamala was choosing who to be the running mate as the VP? What conversations were being had, and who else was super close to being? Because Josh Shapiro, being Jewish, was he one of the ones that was possibly being considered?
I was one of the biggest supporters of Josh Shapiro. Even though I'm no longer part of the party, I still harbor tremendous amount of respect and love for that man. And I'm probably going to catch flack for it, but friendship is friendship, and so it is what it is. I think he's one of the most talented people in the Democratic Party. And I was on air on TV consistently throughout that week, saying that Josh Shapiro was our best bet. But Harris was intimidated by him because he was so good in relation to her. He was just a much better speaker. I mean, it's not even...
Oh, they're not in the same league.
Exactly.
No, Josh speaks like a president.
Absolutely.
So let me ask you, do you remember when the stories came out? Rob, what stories came out about him supporting a friend that killed somebody and,
the suicide thing?
The suicide thing.
Unfortunately, in the past
Shooting
week...
20 times in the back or stabbing 20 times in the back.
In the past week, more news came out about that.
Got it. And the only reason I'm bringing this up, because the timing of this being released was
It
right.
was to destroy him.
But you think Kamala would be involved in wanting to destroy her?
No. It was the progressives, the people who hated Israel.
Such as?
The vicious online people who probably live in a garage. It was really that. It was an online mob. But no one in power wanted to. Other than it really came down to Andy Bashir, Mark Kelly, Josh Shapiro, and Tim Walz, which is such a dumb mistake. Like Tim contributed.
Who picked him? Did Kamala pick him? I don't think Kamala has that much power to pick Tim. Who picked him?
She picked him.
She picked him as a VP?
And someone who had tremendous impact on the decision-making process was a guy named Tony West, who's a chief legal officer of Uber. And you know who Tony West is, other than that? Her brother-in-law. Remember how in 2019 she had all her family members involved and everything went to shit? She learned nothing from it and did the same thing. Her family was again heavily involved in the 2024 campaign, and Tony West was deeply involved in the vetting process for VP.
There was something with Tony West we talked about, Rob, on a podcast about a year ago. What was the link with Tony West behind closed doors? His wife or his connection, or what was the?
His wife is the sister of Kamala Harris.
But there was something there that with. I remember clearly us talking about Tony West about something. I don't know what it was, but he came up about...
In a good or bad way?
Not in a good way. I don't know what it was when the story came up.
He had some... It might have been in connection with Eric Holder, the Attorney General. They had some shady dealings.
It could have been. It could have been. But he came up on a podcast that we talked about a year and a half ago. Is that it, Rob? Or some confirmation? Anyways, I don't know what it is. So Tony West was influential in her picking Tim Walz.
Right. They thought that he would be the guy to do the least damage, but then he turned out to be a pathological liar, lying about how he was in Tiananmen when he was really in Nebraska. I mean, who makes that kind of lie? It's like, so it's not even like a...
Oh, he was maybe the worst VP pick I've ever seen. I don't know what happened when this guy was picked. He pulled his son's arm the way he did at the one thing, and I don't know if you remember that one or not. There was a...
But his son was like sobbing at the DNC too.
Yeah, but then he pulled him like, get your act together, and was like, whoa,
oh,
okay,
wow.
Cool. You've never seen that? It was a very, right there. There's a Tim Walz arm pull son.
Oh my
arm
gosh.
Pull. You didn't see this one? Just very weird when you see this. Is that
his
it?
son...
Watch this.
Oh, wow. His son has special needs. That makes it worse. You know his son is special needs.
Yeah, I know. That's the moment where I'm like, dude, what was that?
Oh
Look
my
at that.
God.
Yeah, that was.
So he must be a monster behind him.
I don't know what he is.
Oh
I don't know what he is, but I do know when him and AOC were playing video games, neither one of them was actually playing video games, and I don't know what that Madden thing they were trying to pull off, thinking that's a good idea.
Exactly.
But okay, so that's that part. Now the money part, like, hey, I remember Ben Stiller. I never got paid. Sean Penn. Never got paid. Never got paid. Oprah. No one paid me directly. I mean, you see these numbers that we read about. Oprah Winfrey got paid $1 million through Harpo Productions for event production, not personal fee. Beyonce $165.
I'm just asking you to spell Harpo backwards.
I know it's Oprah.
Yeah, exactly.
Harpo,
it's her company.
Yeah, it's her magazine called Harpo.
So how could you possibly say you weren't paid?
That's the point. And then you have, other influencers that not disclose $4 million, good influence $500,000, People First Marketing $500,000, and
you know whose name is not on there?
Who is that?
Yours truly. Me.
Oh, that you didn't get paid.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
I wasn't paid for anything.
Yeah, but these are celebrities that are collecting checks. Was the rumor right that Beyonce got a fat check? Because this says only $165. Do you know how much Beyonce actually got paid or no?
I don't think it was the millions that was circulating, but she was definitely paid for. She was paid for her quote unquote production costs. But remember what she actually did? She gave a speech. So
Never
what were the
performed.
production
2
costs?
minutes and got off. Yeah. So Megan Stallion, Lizzo, all these other guys were mentioned.
Megan Thee Stallion. Did you watch her performance?
Horrible.
She was like scantily clad. And what is that? What message are you trying to convey?
Embarrassing. So Somebody thought these ideas were good ideas.
Jen O'Malley Dillon.
Who?
Jen O'Malley Dillon, who is Obama world fixture. She was the one who led Beto O'Rourke's. Yes.
She's the one that led Beto O'Rourke's.
And by the way, I was in the Oval Office in March 1st, 2024. By that time, she still hadn't moved to campaign headquarters. They were dragging their feet. Like Trump by that time was like deep in it. They were like rolling, cylinders were all rolling. In March 2024, she was still in the White House. So their campaign was like in two different locations.
Why though? Thinking it's a slam dunk, we're going to win no matter what. There's nothing they can do.
I think part of it was trying to conserve Biden's energy because they knew it was limited.
Well, that part makes sense. I mean, even in 2020, you barely saw what he was doing.
He was fortunate in that regard. In 2020, he could hide in there. No one would ask questions.
Very weird. Very weird.
Yeah.
And when you would see audiences show up, there were, in many cases, more staffers there than actually people wanting to see what he had to say.
Pat, that is such an incisive comment because I was there on May 19th, 2019, when he kicked off his campaign. It was in Philadelphia. I live there. And I remember, actually, that day was so hot, I had a heat stroke, but that's beside the point. I remember turning to my friend. I was like, why are there more members of the press here than supporters? This is embarrassing. This is Philadelphia. It's not a conservative heartland. It's the most democratic, the bluest possible city. And you can't get like more than 100 people to show up. We were in front of the Rocky Steps, it was unbelievable to me. And I figured maybe it was hot that day, but it was in May. It was not that hot, And throughout the campaign, let me say, there was a Blacks for a Biden event. By that time, Biden was still in the race. So few people showed up that they had to move the artificial wall closer to Biden to make it seem like more people were there. Do you understand? It was in a high school gym. And with Trump, people would be like hanging off the rafters. There would be so many people there. With Biden, they had to literally change the configuration of the room because there were so few people there. And they had to ask students. It was a Black Americans for a Biden event. They had to ask students to come in from their classrooms to fill the stands. I still have pictures on that on my LinkedIn.
That is embarrassing.
That is so embarrassing.
By the way, the Taylor Swift. Everybody thought Taylor Swift.
That's the event. Exactly. Rob, you are so good. Wow. That's exact. Do you see what I mean? That's the event. You can probably see me in the front row too. I'm wearing an orange dress. But it looks like there were people there, but you can tell that they moved the...
Wow.
Yeah.
How many people were in the room?
How many supporters or how many members of the press? Because I think there were more members of the press.
That's the one you're talking about?
Yeah, exactly. It looks like there were people there, but after the camera stops, there's nothing behind, They left. There's nobody there. It's not that they left. There's
so
nobody
weird.
there.
That is so weird.
And you can tell that everyone up there is young because they filled, in the rafters, they filled that part with literal students who they snatched from classrooms that day.
How do you think they won 2020 election? You hear a lot of different things. I mean, you're in it. When they're talking, like I'm in Brazil last week, and there's this famous video of one of the judges walking past Alexandre de Moraes and says, hey,
don't worry, I'm still here.
Job promised, job done, something like that. And he taps him in the shoulder. Okay. And Alexandre goes like this, like, good job. This is it. If you can fast forward to like 10 seconds, right there. You see right there. He's speaking. Guy walks up, one of the judges. Boom. Mission assigned, mission accomplished. Okay. What happened with 2020 from you being on the inside that they brought? Because Lula, Obama called Lula the greatest politician in the world. And this judge goes and gets Lula out of prison to come and run against Bolsonaro because they had nobody that they thought could beat Bolsonaro. What really happened in 2020 when Biden won?
I will say that I'm not an election conspiracist, but I do think that election was rigged in some ways. For example, we should have learned more about Hunter Biden's laptop. The fact that the mainstream media completely buried it was a tremendous disservice to the American people. Not only that, you had revered members of the intelligence community like Anthony Blinken and Jake Sullivan, who became National Security Advisor. They came out and said it was Russian disinformation. Now we know that, guess what? It wasn't Russian disinformation. It was an actual laptop. It was his laptop. And those photos were real. Those texts were real. Everything was real. And the fact that they hid it from the American people was a travesty. And I think it would have had an enormous impact on how people voted. Because who was the big guy? Joe Biden. Right? That information was withheld from voters. And also he benefited from the basement campaign. And they were hoping to run a Rose Garden campaign in 2024, which would have been similar, like very passive, and leaving the travel to surrogates.
But nothing else. Like, was there anything? Were you ever in rooms where conversation was said?
I have to be honest. No one was like trying to cheat. Yeah.
There wasn't anything where you heard about the balance drop, this, that.
I mean, it's a usual Philadelphia corruption. It happens every time, though. Like the street money. Have you heard about that notion? Okay. Oh my God. So, Pat, before I say this, someone very high up in the Democratic Party threatened to sue me after my Sean Ryan show. I could ruin his career just by naming him, but I'm going to do him a good deed today and not name him. But he knows, if he listens, he knows exactly who it is.
Is he somebody we know?
You would know that this role exists, and it's very prominent. And I can tell you off air who it is. I will tell you afterwards. He sends me a text. I actually gave it to Benny Johnson. He sends me a text saying, "Who's your lawyer? I want to give you the respect of sending it to the right person." And so I call him. I know him. I was like, "What are you suing me for?" And I was like, defamation has to be, I have to be saying something false. I was like, so tell me, what am I saying that's false? And so we dissected everything I said. I was like, and he agreed with me that everything I said was true, but he just didn't want it packaged it together for the American people in a digestible fashion. So I'm mentioning this now because he's probably going to send me another threat. Because here I am talking about the street money. He doesn't like me talking about the street money, which is very corrupt. Philadelphia has a habit of giving ward leaders money. They just hand out money on election day.
To who? To voters?
To ward leaders.
To ward leaders?
Yeah.
And in doing so, what do you get in return?
It's supposed to turn out the vote. I'm trying. It's the underbelly of Philadelphia politics. I'm not sure if Chicago does this too, but it's a long story tradition in Philadelphia.
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now. So the practice involves leaders.
Is there a Wikipedia page for this?
Yeah, there's a political small amounts of money to individuals, often on lower income individuals, to incentivize them to vote. The use of street money has been long-standing tradition in Philadelphia's political landscape. However, its prevalence declined over the years. So
it's still going on.
You're saying it's still going on.
Mm-hmm.
How do you know that?
Because we just talked about it days ago when he threatened to sue me. He didn't want me mentioning it on a national podcast.
I'd never.